2023, I was faced with an ultimatum. You either get that back of yours fixed, sorted, or in terms of the art world, you're done. Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Creative Business Made Simple. I am your host John Morris, and it is great to be back with you once again for the only show that helps you get from where you are to where you want to be in your creative endeavors and beyond. Do me a favor, go and smash the heck out of that like button, subscribe, share, and tell your friends about this amazing show, because it could be the very thing they need to hear in their hour of struggle. Plus, it is, in doing so, that you enter a free monthly giveaway that could have prizes from one-on-one coaching calls to me, all the way up to monthly membership, to free books, all sorts of other stuff, just for commenting the word done once you've done it. And I'll be able to see whether you've actually done it or you haven't, because it comes up on our algorithm. Anyway, today's show, we are taking a little bit of a detour. Because as we mentioned before, this is a show that deals with not only you, the professional, but you, the person. And one of the most interesting things that I find with professionals all across the globe is that they have physical issues that are going on as a result of artwork, as a result of their craft, as a result of their labor of love. Now, if you're an artist, for example, you may sit there and think, well, you're just sitting there painting. What this could be so difficult about that? Damaged knees, arthritis, back problems, shoulder problems, joint problems, and beyond. All are some of the top of the list ailments that artists all over the world are struggling with. Now, more so than that, we want to obviously factor that into other areas of creative business, because we don't exclude everybody. We're a very inclusive channel. But we're going to round this out that people professionally have not always been really good with taking care of themselves. And in this episode, that's what we want to help you do. Now, whether it starts with your mind, which is the most important place for you to take care of, because if you don't take care of your mind, nothing else is going to work. If you don't take care of your mind, everything else is going to grow to a standstill. So in taking care of your mind, some of the most key aspects that I would suggest anybody do is really become observant as to what you're listening to, what you're watching, who you're surrounding yourself with. How are you spending your time? What kind of messages are you absorbing? What are you allowing into your life? Because nothing can come into your life without you allowing it. In the internal and in the spiritual, I should, sort of classify that. But on a serious note, when you have your mind taken care of, as we've explored in other episodes of our new show, everything else seems to fall into place. Literally, you will go from doing, deals for a couple of £100 with people to having an opportunity to pitch, someone like Marcus Ogden, former NFL retired player, 2.4 million, on some of his things, And it's phenomenal what can happen when you really take care of your mind. More so than that, you're also looking for your quality of life. You're looking to be healthier, happier. Also, I find when I'm in my spiritually most aligned, which is a big part of your mind, I find that my body doesn't ache half as much as when I'm not. So really become observant as to what and who you're spending time with, what you're listening to, what you're watching, all of that kind of stuff. From there, we move to the body. How your creative environment is set up will indicate clearly the longevity of you as an artist primarily. I want to focus as an artist because it's more of a physical thing. Whereas coaching, it's sitting here talking to you. Writing, it's sitting here writing. But with artwork, I have to move around. I have to be involved with it. And what I found was, I like to kneel down. Now, the reason I like to kneel down on the floor when I'm painting is because if I sit, it bothers my shoulder, because you're constantly making this movement, and it is repetitive shoulder strain. If I stand and paint at an easel, then the pressure and problems become spinal in my back. So what I found was when I knelt for such a long period of time, I was able to paint, for hours and hours on end without any bother at all. But I would occasionally have problems with my knees. I'd occasionally have pains at the back of my legs. I never thought anything of it. And it's only when you begin to really research this stuff, really understand this stuff, that you start to understand that nothing ever happens randomly. It is all a part of an intrinsical process. About 2 and a bit years ago, I really started to have problems with my back. Now, I've had back problems since I was a teenager, but it really got bad to the point my wife was leaving on a Friday morning to go on holiday with her sister and mother. They were having a girls' weekend away. And I was in the gym, I kissed her goodbye, and as soon as I sat back down on the bench, waved bye-bye, sat back down on the bench, I felt my back go. And I don't mean just go to the point that it's like, oh, that was a little bit. I mean to the point that the next day I couldn't get out of bed. Having to come down the stairs like a crab on my butt and on my hands. And then I got to the bottom of the stairs and I was literally looking around like, what do we do now? Because you've gotten out of bed, great, but what do you do? So then I started to practice a lot more yoga, and it was back stretching, focused yoga more than anything else. And I became more of a practitioner of that and really researched the sort of the intrinsic values and benefits of yoga and the stretches and everything. And what you find is, when you're alive, your body is supple, it's flexible, it's, like bamboo trees last because they are very, very maneuverable, and that's a great lesson for life. Whereas when you're old and you're basically in the grave, you're rigid and solid. And that's a sign for death. So I started to find, that my back was getting better when I was doing the stretches, but it wasn't a long-term solution. So I couldn't sit to paint. I now couldn't kneel to paint. I couldn't stand to paint. So what the heck was I to do? And I started to research this. Again, we've talked about this all along. Study that which you desire to become and do your research. We're going to have that on a t-shirt, I think. That'll be a really cool thing. But literally, I sat there and I started Googling incline chairs. Now, the reason that I started researching incline chairs was very simple, because when I was doing incline bent over rows, where basically you have the weightlifting bench up your chest, I found that the pressure was completely off my back, my lower back specifically. And I found that I could exercise without any problems, and I found it very, very comfortable. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really something important here. So I started researching, and what I actually found was a 28-pound piece of kit that's currently coming to us from Australia. I wish I could show you right now, but it's basically like a bodyboard that inclines and reclines and everything. And literally, that is taking the pressure off my back. Because when you're kneeling forward, it doesn't matter whether you're 9 stone or 14 stone or 15 stone, every time you lean forward, you are putting pressure on your back to support you and everything else. So that's obviously causing a lot of problems. So what I also found was really interesting that a lot of artists have severe back problems as well as a result of their craft. So now what we're doing is just, hey, you need to check out this bench. I need to take out shares, I think, or more shares on Amazon to, get this sort of piece of kit imported over and quite literally, just market this great product. Number 3 that people need to take care of more than anything, I think, is their spiritual life. So we ran a show for many years. I did it with the Los Angeles Tribune called Mind, Body and Soul. And what we found was people would often take care of their mental health. Or they would go to church on Sunday to take care of their spiritual health, but they wouldn't take care of the mind. Or they would take care of the mind, but then not the body. Or they would take care of the body, but not necessarily the mind or the spirit. And it's all 3 that work in tandem, like literally, and it's all of you. When you take care of your spiritual life, you realize that everything is divine. There isn't anything that happens in your life, and if you actually look back, and you're old enough to look back, you will be able to find that everything everything that has happened to you has led you to the place that you're in right now. Every decision that you've made has led you to the place that you're in right now. But if you look back, you will be able to see almost breadcrumbs of things you needed to learn. Regardless if the lesson was hard or easy, it was things you needed to learn to make you into the person that you are now. And that's what a lot of people forget. They get to the point and they get really frustrated with God, or they get really frustrated with life. They say, well, how can this happen? How can this happen? How can they do that to me? And I've been there as well. But it's when you look back and say, well, my best friend making me homeless, that really toughened me up because I had no one else in my life to rely on. Business partnerships falling apart taught me that I could still function. It taught me that it's great if people come along to help you on the journey, but if not, you still need to be able to do what's necessary. Relationship breakups taught me, you don't need somebody else in your life. It's great when they're there, but if it's the wrong person, or if it's not working out, then don't force it. Allow everything to flow. So, while I wouldn't necessarily have wanted to go through those lessons, they were important ones to go through because you learn so much more about yourself. And when you start to see that there is also a lot of spiritual help and guidance around you, amazing things start to happen. Like more and more people, I think, than ever before are now starting to explore a spiritual life as a result of a lot of things that they hear. Like we've talked about this on other shows, 2021, I think it was. I went through my own another spiritual awakening, but this time it wasn't involving the church. It wasn't involving any prescribed religion or anything. It was Wayne Dyer that happened to pop up, on my YouTube playlist, seemingly coincidentally, but we know there is no coincidence. Nothing ever happens randomly. And that one moment, that 1 hour that I spent listening to his everyday wisdom changed my life forever. So much so that I listened to it again. And then the next day I listened to it over and over and over and over and over. And then I started studying psychology. And then I started studying philosophy. And I did that with Yale. I did that with MIT. I did that with Stanford. And recently with Harvard with studying AI, artificial intelligence. I began loving to learn. I began loving the learning process. After 2021, I consumed 763 books in a year. Literally, I couldn't stop myself listening. I was building. I also embarked on a phenomenal book series, which has actually taken nearly a decade sort of to put together. And close to 5 years to write, and I'm delighted to say that very soon it is going to be available, and it's like nothing you've ever seen, and I can categorically say that. I never make those claims unless they are absolutely true. And it's my reason for being here, aside from Creative Business Made Simple and talking to you wonderful people. But I realized that everything was divine. I started working with Laurie Bischoff, wife of wrestling legend Eric Bischoff. And we formed Teen Life Coaching. I met Marcus Ogden, a former NFL retired footballer. I met wrestlers, I met film stars, I met actors, I met authors. My life began to change in a phenomenal way. There were times when I was getting ill. There was times actually when I had my best month ever in terms of selling paintings. 19 orders in a single month. Custom paintings. Thousands and thousands of dollars where I realized I couldn't keep up with the demand. That's where I started to look for funding. And I said, well, how can I maximize the courses? How can I maximize my books? The battles we'll face in Creative Business Made Simple. I started to think smarter, wiser. And this happens every single day. And see, when something comes into your life that is divine, you recognize its divinity, you honor it, you love it, you celebrate it, you enjoy it. more is then added. When I said to God, I wanted to get my financial, or my wife and my financial issues in order. And I said to God, I said, Lord, by 2025, I want to have our financial stuff done. It means that if I never work a day, if I just sit and write my books now for the rest of my life, that we're taken care of financially. Did God suddenly bless me with $1 million? It's like, oh, wow, here you go. No. But he gave me the ideas. And as we talked about in episode 1, there is nothing that you can see, hear, touch, taste, or smell that has not come from an idea. Ideas have the power and potential to change the world. If you listen to some of the old teachers like Wayne Dyer and Florence Scovel Shinn, and I would recommend listening to them, or Wallace D. Waddell, about the science of getting rich, you will realize that the majority of the modern speakers are basically just parroting these guys and girls. And in many ways, I think of myself, picking up where Wayne Dyer and Florence left off. They're a part of me as much as, well, I'm hopefully part of your life now. But when you recognize that there is something more than yourself, bigger than yourself, going on, looking after yourself, it is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. And you are here for a very specific purpose. I know what my purpose is. And I don't have a clue sometimes how it's all going to work out. I just trust that it is. And then it starts happening. And before you know it, 25,000 here, 50,000 there. It starts building up. Business conversations start happening. Amazing things start happening. You are more blessed and guided than you know. For many of you, and especially for those of you that are starting out, the best thing that I would say is do not listen to a lot of stuff that the media puts out there. Listen seldom to stuff that social media puts out there. Study that which you desire to become. You have it within you to be a phenomenal rock star genius. What is a genius? A genius is somebody who knows a lot about a lot, or knows a lot about something very, very specific. That's all a genius is. You have it within you to be awesome. So when you get these 3 areas of your life really taken care of, you look after your mind, which is watching who you spend time with, watching where you designate your time, watching who you give time to. And after all, that is one of the most important, valuable commodities that you have. Watching your physical health. Are you exercising? Are you eating right? Are you looking after yourself? Actually doing the real research rather than a lot of the stuff that's peddled in the West that is utter garbage. And then are you taking care of yourself spiritually? Now, a lot of people, and I want to end on this, a lot of people ask, well, where do I even begin? I would always say, if you want to learn how to build a business, study the people of the West. Because they've done it successfully for many, many years. Hundreds of years now. If you want to study spiritual enlightenment and how to look after yourself physically, I would always go and study people from the East. For that is where every major religion worth its salt has actually originated from. And people forget that. If you've got any questions about today's topic, I know it's been a little bit deeper, a little bit more reflective, a little bit more meditative almost, then do get in touch with us. Comment in the section below. Don't forget you can enter that great giveaway by simply sharing, liking, subscribing. And it could be anything from a free book all the way up to a maybe even monthly sales calls. Maybe even a one-on-one session with me worth $2,000. Just for sharing. How amazing is that? Go ahead, make sure you do it now. If there's anything we can do to help you get from where you are to where you want to be, and I guarantee you that there is, whether it be in your personal life or in your business, do get in touch with us by clicking the link in the section below. We are here to help. We have monthly sessions with groups. We have weekly sessions and one-on-one coaching. We've got courses, we've got books, we've got everything galore, and we are ready to rock and roll with you guys and girls. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. I have loved being your host, John Morris, the artist, author, and coach for the creative mind. This has been Creative Business Made Simple, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.